own a goldfish as a kid? Did you ever have that thing go belly up and for at least 5 or 10 minutes you poked it with your finger and you kept telling yourself, this goldfish isn't dead, but it was dead? You ever do that? Well, I've been poking a goldfish for most of 2020, and now I might be ready to flush it down the bowl. And I'm not alone. Cruising in 2020. Is it time to let it go? In today's episode of the Lido Loca Cruise Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Tony. If you enjoy that cruising and travel content, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. Well, welcome to a Friday in a week that was wrought with news that wasn't so great. Let me just give you the summary. We watched with glee last week as cruise lines went out in Europe to embrace a new normal, to cruise in a new way, to prove to the world that cruising could resume and that we could all get on the high seas. That didn't go well. We got more cruise ships with problems than not problems, and all the naysayers out there sticking their heads up and going, see, I told you so. I told you this wasn't going to be able to happen. Well, that was not good. And I don't know if that was the reason, but now the Cruise Line International Association, CLIA, they said, look, we're going to extend our voluntary return to cruising for another month. They really made the window for 2020 small, saying that none of our favorite cruise ships would be sailing until after November the 1st. I did the maths. I used a calculator. That's 61 days of cruising potentially. That's about 8.7 weeks of cruises. And I don't feel good about it. We might see a cruise ship go out in that period of time, but there's really no writing on the wall that makes it seem like that could happen. The big group cruise that we've been working on here for Lido Loca for the last 2 years, that went poof with this latest announcement. Hundreds of people I was going to hang out with on a cruise ship, gone. But I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to be that beacon of hope. Will cruising resume in 2020? It doesn't look good. But now my man, Frank Del Rio, CEO of Norwegian Cruise Line Holding Group, said, look, you got to reset your expectations. I mean, he didn't say that to me specifically, but in an earnings call this week, he said, don't really expect cruising as you know it to resume until at least Q2 2021. He said, I know you got 61 days in 2020. Well, I'll see your 61 days and raise you a whole first quarter. How about them apples? I appreciate Frank Del Rio. He's being the realist that I've probably refused to be over the last few months. I wasn't willing to accept it. It's one of those days here at the Lido Loca Cruise Show where reality is smacking us right in the face. More specifically, what Frank Del Rio said is that you could see some cruising at the end of 2020 in that 61-day period, but it would be very limited. There is a process to resume to cruising, and that's going to be a ramp-up process. That's no surprise. We expected a few cruise ships to hit the water first, and then slowly but surely the rest of the fleet come on board. And so when Frank says that you're going to see cruising again in second quarter 2021, he's talking about the full Monty. He's talking about everything running again by second quarter 2021. So in this desert period, that's what we'll call it now. Can we call it that together? In this desert period that will represent November, December 2020 and January, February, March 2021, in that desert period, we will see a gradual return to cruising, and hopefully that will work better than the gradual return to cruising we witnessed last week. Now, Norwegian Cruise Line's holding group does not speak for all of the cruise companies. There's two bigger ones out there, Carnival Corporation, Royal Caribbean Group. And so Frank's not speaking for all of them, but the business isn't that much different for the other two. So I think you could glean from Mr. Del Rio some truths that will transcend across the industry. But speaking specifically about Norwegian Cruise Line Holding Group, he did mention that their ships are newer. They don't plan to get rid of any of their cruise ships, and the outlook for 2021 is strong. The reason these cruise companies can stay in business is the demand for cruising continues to remain high. People continue to put deposits down on future cruises. This will be the lifeblood of this industry. It's a good sign that people that love cruising continue to hold out hope and continue to want to book cruises. And look, that's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm not going to poo-poo on the people that want to drop a $50 deposit to buy themselves a little hope in a world gone mad. Mr. Del Rio also pointed out that part of that gradual return to cruising would be a reduced capacity in sailing. He laid it out there saying most likely his Norwegian Cruise Line ships would be sailing with 50 to 60% capacity, but once you average it out all over 2021, he feels like that average would be about 75%. And look, as a guy who doesn't really like crowds, if the most that's ever on my cruise ship is 75%, I'm good with it. So without a doubt, there are a bunch of hurdles that cruise lines have to overcome before they can start cruising again. They have to get the approval of the CDC for cruises to start in North America. They need destination ports to be open and willing to accept cruise ships. They need to implement new health protocols and train their staff and retrofit anything that needs to be retrofitted for the new protocol. Stickers on the floor, new air filters, ripping out buffets, whatever else they're going to do. That's an obstacle that they have to overcome. And then they have to have a plan for if something goes sideways on a cruise ship like it did in March, something that was better than that. So that's a lot of work to do, but you think some of that work could have been done over the last 4 months? I don't know, maybe, maybe not. So that's your to-do list, cruise lines. Let's get on that, and we'll do our best to keep the hope alive by booking cruises for the future while lamenting the cruises that were not in 2020. Realistically, I still have one more on the books with Royal Caribbean in December, but I don't know. The hope that I had for that one is fleeting. Now, look, I know there's plenty of people out there that be like, look, I told you there was going to be no cruising in 2020. Ha, ha, ha. I'm right. You're wrong. Ha, 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 ha. Are you the person that likes to, be gleeful in the face of other people's disappointment? Are you that person? Gold star for you. Bet you're a lot of fun at Thanksgiving. For the rest of us that love that cruise life, that enjoy holding up the torch of hope, hanging on to our gleeful memories of cruising and looking forward to a time when we will cruise again, I say I'm with you. Stay united in this front of hope and continue to encourage each other. But let me close out by saying, look, I would rather be safe than sailing. I recognize that cruise life is an add-on to real life, and there's a lot of people that are out there hurting, been devastated over the last 4 months by personal loss, by financial loss, by a general hard time. And so there's no effort to discount those struggles. But there is a reminder that one of the beautiful things about the human spirit is that we can balance loss and hope at the same time. And those things are not mutually exclusive. So let's lament together today for the loss of cruising in 2020. Let's make sure we show some compassion and sympathy for those that are struggling. Let's all spark that flame of hope. Keep on trucking. Thank you so much for watching the show. Please show your support by hitting the like button. My name's Tony for Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.